Alrighty then. Well, hello everyone. Assuming that there's going to actually be anyone here. It's been a while since I've streamed anything, and it's because, honestly, my regular gameplay streams I stopped doing because I realized I wasn't all that good at them. I'm just not very entertaining. But ever since I did that, I've discovered a little niche that I have enjoyed, and it's doing Did You Know voice acting, because Chris Neosi doesn't do it anymore, so hey, someone else has to pick up the torch. I might as well do it. Why not? So I've made 2 of them already, and I figured, hey, I wanted to try something weird, something experimental. I had a thought for an idea, and it just didn't seem like it would make a good scripted, edited video. But the research is the fun part, so we're going to be doing it live, and that is, you guys know Project Cross Zone 2? It is a crossover strategy game between Namco, Capcom, and Sega, and a little bit of Nintendo, released for the 3DS at the end of 2015 in Japan, 2016 internationally. I am a big fan of the Project Cross Zone games. I wish that they would get re-released. I mean, Monolith Soft is owned by Nintendo now, so maybe the fact that it's got so many other companies involved makes it a little bit tricky. The games, I think, both ended up getting delisted on the 3DS eShop. Thankfully, I own them both physically, so no problems. Anyway, big crossover games were not dubbed into English. They are strictly Japanese audio no matter where you buy them. And I thought, well, what if they did do an English dub for the game, and they put into it the same amount of love and care that went into the Japanese version? How would that look? So what we're going to be doing is the research. We're going to be looking up all of the playable characters in this game. I'm not going to do rival units or NPCs, just strictly the pair and solo units. And we're going to be doing the research on who voices them in English. Now, there's a couple rules that are going to go into this. Rule number 1, games take priority. Basically, if the character appeared more recently in English in an anime adaptation, the last game takes priority. Rule number 2, the time period of 2016 must be considered. We have to consider which characters were around, which voices were being used around the period of 2016. So we have to figure out whether or not the actors were still around at the time, whether they'd still be working, and vice versa. If there was some big shakeup that hadn't happened yet, we can't consider that either. And finally, we got to be realistic, okay? Some of these characters date back quite a while. We can't just assume that they'll okay, let me start over. I was getting a warning on bitrate on this. There's not going to be too much movement, so it's probably not a huge problem. Anyway, some of these characters are quite old. The actors who had last played them in English could very well have moved on and are doing other things. So we can't just say, yeah, they'd probably come back. Nah. There are plenty of mitigating circumstances, and we're going to consider those. Thankfully, I've at least created a bit of preparation for it. And even before we got this stream started, I was doing my research, okay? I put together a full spreadsheet of every character in the game, their Japanese actors. I split them up between company and franchise just to make it a little bit more readable. And I made a note on established, whether or not they were the character's established voice actor at the time. And I made, just for my own whatever, I made notes on, like, how long has this person been voicing the character. If there's no note, then that probably just means they're the only voice actor this character has ever had. And I did it for absolutely everybody. And as you can see by the vast amount of green, yeah, the games were pretty good about getting the proper voice actors back. Or green also counts if this game was the very first time the character was voiced. If that's also true, then yep, they're just as eligible as anyone else. The only 2 ones that technically don't count are Maya Fey, because the Project Crosswind 2 predates her first voice appearance in Spirit of Justice. And Axel Stone. Nothing else too much to say about that. The only reason he doesn't count as an automatic yes is because he technically did have a voice actor in Streets of Rage 2 and probably 3. Yeah, 3. And it was not Tomokazu Sugita back then, so technically does not count. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good. And Maya brings up an interesting thing to consider. Video game development takes a while. Casting can happen at various different points depending on the project. So we have a little bit of leeway on the time frame. If we can realistically say, yes, this game featuring this actor was in development in English at the time, we can assume there was some amount of cross communication and say, yeah, Namco, Capcom, or Sega could have told whoever was localizing the game, yep, this is the actor we're going to be using, so you can cast them as well, which would at the very least also mean that they're definitely available, because they're recording for one game, they can easily just do another. And finally, once we're done with all of the research, I also made a nice little list that shows how many actors are in the game and how many roles they are each taking. And you find out that Project Crosswind 2 is actually very diverse. A lot of actors only voice one character. 6 of them voice 2 at most, and there's a total of 52 actors. We will be doing that tally again in English. And of course, the fun part about all of this is we're going to be figuring out if there's any fun connections that we can make. Now, the English side of the spreadsheet also has a couple extra lines. I threw in location because in Japanese voice acting, pretty much all of the actors are located in a central area. So you can just assume if this actor is voicing in Japanese, then it doesn't really matter where the production's taking place. They're able to be in it. That's not the case in English. There's a couple central areas of voice acting in English. So we do have to consider that as to whether or not it's feasible they would be able to return, which is what possible is there for. And I threw an alt just to say, like, okay, if we can't get this actor, is there another one that would be more feasible? Again, assuming time frame, we can't just say, oh, well, this person started voicing the character a couple of years later. Like, maybe they could have just gotten them early. It's possible, but we can't assume that. So alt is mainly just for if there was an earlier actor that's more available, perhaps from an anime. Like I said, games take precedence, but if the anime's around, then we can use them as an alt if we need to. And we will be doing the research thanks to my best friend, BehindTheVoiceActors.com. This website is super good for voice acting research mostly because it has character pages. So I can easily just look up a character, go to their page, and I immediately have a list of every single actor they've ever had and what they've been in. I used it a lot for the Japanese side, and it's extremely useful. It also tends to be more reliable than other sources. Not everything on here is verified, but I find it at least has a higher standard. Like, I first started on the Japanese side with IMDb, and they said that Takehiro Sakurai voiced Zero in Project Crosswind 2, and I was like, I'm decently sure that's not correct. And yeah, no one else corroborates that, so we are just going to be assuming. We're just going to be using Behind the Voice Actors as our primary method of research, and I have a Wikipedia page open as well, just in case if there's some other bit of research I need to do on the actor themselves. Maybe some time frame stuff. And a lot of these characters, I honestly probably just know off the top of my head. This is the kind of stuff I'm very familiar with, but just for the sake of having a visual, because I'm not putting up the character for all 60 characters that are in this game. So we'll be using the page. I'll look them all up just so I can confirm I'm not just talking out of my ass, okay? We getting started? All right. We're getting started with the 2 original crossover characters. Unfortunately, it does bother me that, I wonder if I say characters reprisals, is it going to stick around with that? Or am I going to have to select that every time? Because they always try and go with voice actor first, and I have to scroll down to get the characters. Yeah, now Reiji is very simple. He has only ever appeared in some crossover games. He is a Namco Cross Capcom exclusive character. And yeah, None of the games he's been in have ever been dubbed into English. I was wondering if, I don't know, did Endless Frontier have some weird English dub I didn't know about? But no. So we can just safely skip out on giving him an actor and say, nope, there was no established character whatsoever. And the same can be said for his counterpart, Xiaomu. A character who I wish had more art. She is great. And yeah, by the way, the stream is also not going to be flipping back to the spreadsheet all the time because that's difficult to do, and frankly, you're just going to be looking at me typing in some stuff on a spreadsheet. I'll go back to it when we're done. Okay, now we're getting into actual interesting stuff. Since Namco is the primary developer of the game, I figured we'd start with the Namco stuff, and that begins with Tekken with Jin Kazama. So now the thing with Tekken is a lot of the times the characters, Tekken's kind of famous for having characters that are voiced by their respective language. So the Japanese characters speak Japanese, the American characters speak English, and that's just the case around the world. So you would think with, hey, a character like Jin Kazama, who is Japanese, yeah, he's pretty much always voiced in Japanese. In the primary Tekken games, that's the case. However, there's a couple weird exceptions, primarily with crossovers in movies, because you can't do that kind of stuff here. And wouldn't you know, a couple years earlier, we had Brad Swale voicing him in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Now, I, of course, know Brad Swale most. A lot of people would say, like, oh yeah, he was the voice of Light in Death Note. And I'm like, no, the first thing I think of is he is the voice of Lan Hikari in Mega Man NT Warrior. Now, which makes things a little more interesting, because I know NT Warrior was recorded in Canada. It says Canadian voice actor. So let's see. So did he move to California at some point? Oh, he's the voice of Adult Gohan. I don't see anything that indicates he did, so he still lives in Canada. I didn't know Death Note was dubbed in Canada. And Street Fighter Cross Tekken was too? Maybe. I mean, I don't see anything on Wikipedia that says anything else. Oh, hold on. It's hard to tell. I guess we're just gonna have to assume, yeah, he still lives in Canada. So, all right then. Then we will put his location in as Canada, which is immediately going to give us a problem, because we're going to assume that, like a lot of games, this dub would be recorded in California, in LA. So basically, we also have to think that 2016, that was a bit before remote voice acting became commonplace. That was still a couple years away. So we're just going to assume that if the actor is not living in the California area, then we're not going to be using them. I'm still not sure on Brad Swale, honestly, but I don't have any other resource, so I guess I just kind of have to assume. Alrighty then, which would of course immediately make him not possible to get. Now, thankfully, this is exactly what the alt is for. The year beforehand, we had Tekken Blood Vengeance, where he was voiced by Patrick Seitz. Now this man will do anything. He is in some... I love Patrick Seitz. We can assume that he would be possible. Now, immediately following after that is, of course, Kazuya. Yeah, and the search bar keeps going back, so I'm just going to have to keep scrolling down. At the time, the most recent thing would have also been Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Jordan Byrne. Known for voicing Kazuya, and he was also in one other thing. Okay, very helpful. Does he even have a Wikipedia page? He does not. Okay, I don't know anything about this guy. Let's see if I can find some more information on him. Los Angeles based. Okay. You know, IMDb. Maybe. Do you have any better information on Brad Swale? Weston, Vancouver, voice acting role. Lives in Vancouver. Yep. All right. Okay, so Jordan Byrne. Alrighty then. He's established, and we can just assume, yeah, he'd be possible. No, I don't. Not Canada, California. Alrighty then. Good for him. This one's actually a little bit sad because the year beforehand, again, Tekken Blood Vengeance, he was voiced by Kyle Hebert, which, of course, there's Street Fighter characters in this game, so it would be kind of nice to be able to also just have Kyle Hebert voicing someone else. It's fine. It works out fine, though. The hell? Who's this guy? He's going by his first name, playing Kazuya in Tekken Bloodline? Alright. Then there's, I think next on the list I would assume, yep, Heihachi. Now, he's the only one of the three that, yeah, stuck with his Blood Vengeance voice going into Street Fighter Cross Tekken the next year, which is kind of weird that they immediately shook it up so quickly. Jameson Price. Because this man, for some reason, shows up in every single fighting game franchise. It's kind of odd. And round out the Tekken characters, we've got Ling Xiaoyu, sorry. They actually managed to give me Xiaomu first. Let's see, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, it was Kerry Savage, and in Tekken Bloodline, it was Kerry Coran, and did they just get confused? Or they just like, who voiced Ling? They said the first name, they were like, Kerry, got it. And they just hired the next one. Kerry Savage, I'm aware of her. She voices Celica in Blaze Blue. So I'm just assuming against California. No reason why she wouldn't. At least, alright now. Now we're getting into some more established stuff. Moving into Dot Hack with Kite. The time, yeah. Mona Marshall was still doing. Okay, yeah, Mona Marshall's the only voice of Kite. That's simple enough. And what has she been doing lately? Still active, so good for her. Still doing anime stuff, so I guess we can assume that, yeah, she's not outside the price range. That's good. Despite the fact that she's been on South Park since like the beginning. Oh, she ended up in Tome. Yeah, I think I knew that. I think I watched Chris Neosi's commentary or something, and he mentioned like, yep, I just got all of the Dot Hack protagonist voice actors in here because it was such a big influence. All right, then, yeah. Then she is still... She's possible. That'd be kind of interesting, getting to reprise your character after... This time was 2004, so 12 years later. We'll assume a little bit less time because she also voiced Azure Kite and Dot Hack GU. And speaking of GU, Haseo. Yeah, this one I know immediately off the top of my head. That's Yuri Lowenthal, of course. God, man, he had two voice actors in Roots, man. I knew Andrew Francis voiced him in Roots. David Lee McKinney? I don't know, man. Okay, but either way, anime doesn't count. Definitely Yuri Lowenthal. And him we can very safely say would be able to return because a couple years later we got Dot Hack GU Last Recode, which was also done by Bandai Namco. Got him back. He is definitely not too good for this. I'm very disappointed that Dot Hack website countdown that was making the news like a day or two ago turned out to be fake. I would totally play a EMOC quadrilogy HD remaster because I love GU. Speaking of voice actors that have gotten much bigger since their game came out, Yuri Lowenthal from Tales of Vesperia. Yep, at the time, that would have been Troy Baker. I mentioned this in my Guilty Gear video. Yeah, he got pretty big shortly following after this. So considering that by this time he was already being replaced by Matt Mercer for Persona 4 Arena, yeah, we can safely say he would not be showing up in Project Cross Zone. And the problem is we don't have a good alt for him. There was no one else voicing him earlier in English. And yeah, Grant George would replace him in Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, but that was 3 years later. So we can't assume that they would have had the idea this early. Honestly, if they had to pick another actor for him, I honestly wonder if they would just follow Arxis' lead and just say, yeah, Matt Mercer's good enough. But we can't say anything on this one. We don't have an alt for him. That's a shame. Flynn is thankfully much easier. Sam Riegel has stuck around. Yes, yay. Possible. Yes, and this actually leads to sort of a funny joke. Again, I mentioned this in the Ace Attorney video, that in Project Cross Zone 2, there's the post-battle dialogue, if you put Phoenix on Yuri and Flynn's team, is them making fun of the fact that Yuri is voiced by a previous voice of Phoenix, while in English, Flynn is the one voiced by Phoenix's current voice. They would have to rewrite dialogue in order to make a joke out of it, but honestly, that feels like the kind of thing that would be in Project Cross Zone's wheelhouse. You know, they'll translate the Japanese jokes if they're there, but if they have the opportunity, they will make up a new one to make it funny. There's a great example where the members of Oma are trying to recruit M. Bison to join their team, and she's like, in the Japanese version, she's like, we have a cow and a bull. It's exciting. Why don't you join us? The English team saw their opportunity and was like, we can do something genius with this. And did. We have cow and bull. Bison fit right in. I love Project Cross Zone so much. Okay, now unfortunately, I don't feel like typing out her full name, so thankfully, Estelice is a very easy name. Okay, Eden Regal. There was the First Strike movie, Jeremy Lee replaced her because it was done by Funimation, who, this was during their period where they were like, yeah, we'll get some voice actors to reprise their roles. Only a couple, though. So they got Troy Baker and they got Sam Riegel. Everyone else, they're like, that's too much work, and they just used their own in-house staff. But Eden Regal returned for Definitive Edition, so we can safely say that she would be around. Is she related? I should have just looked that up. Is she related to Sam Riegel? I've wondered about that for a while, because they've been in a couple things together. At the very least, Guilty Gear. Sam played Kai in Xrd, and Eden's been playing May since Xrd. This has nothing to do with the research. I'm just curious. Her brother. Okay. Sometimes the actual real life relationship between the voice actors can be kind of funny. In the early days of Funimation, it's like, yeah, everyone in this is related. I think it was Aaron Dismuke. It was, who was it? Someone's cousin. And Sonic Heroes is another example. I think every member of Team Chaotix is voiced by someone in the same family. So after Estelle, we're going into God Eater. Did God Eater 2 even have a dub? I'm not much of a God Eater guy. Okay. Ooh. Sure we can't be looking at Mega Man Zero CL, who has definitely never had an English voice, yeah. Christina V, really? Alright then. And this is an example. Project Cross Zone 2 came out before God Eater? Let's see. Released in the US, February. And then God Eater 2 was Rage Burst, August. Okay, so there was a couple month difference, but this is close enough that we could safely assume there'd be some crosstalk. Like Namco could have said, yeah, we already cast Christina V, or we were planning to cast her for the primary game, so we can use her for Project Cross Zone. Am I the only one who is always Like, I see Christina Valenzuela. That took me a second to pronounce. I always just call her Christina V. So, yeah, that's fine. There's a key. Cassandra Lee Morris. Alrighty then. Christina V and Cassandra Lee Morris together again. Honestly, since the two of them are partners, you probably could get a bit of a reprise of the K-On kind of dynamic, and that'd be great. Oh, God. Again, here's another person with 3 names. I don't feel like typing it all out. Unfortunately, Alyssa is a much more common name. Okay, that was actually very easy. Appearing before the Tekken character, that's surprising. Okay, ooh. Yeah, see, there's a... Okay, again, games take priority, Kate Higgins. Oh, okay, and she was in the first one too. Alright then, Kate Higgins definitely takes it. Jeremy Lee, once again, dubbing over the character in an anime again. Kate Higgins, nah. Okay, well, no, I was about to say, like, she's, at the very least, I know she stopped doing Tales, so I sort of figured she was getting a little more popular, but she was in God Eater 2 the same year. We're fine. Going back to an old character now, Cosmos. In English, Lucy Chris. No, that's the anime. Bridget Hoffman in the game. Oh, oof. Okay then. Bridget Hoffman was the last one to play her. Colleen O'Shaughnessy took over for the second game. Here's the thing: I don't know anything about Xenosaga. If anyone watching this does, do any? Oh shit! Have I been leaving the wrong one up? That's odd. The stream thing is showing my that one, but my actual video, I have this up. Wonder why that's the case. It's weird. My stream's showing the spreadsheet, but my OBS window is showing the actual web browser. Why is there a difference? If I hide that, what changes? Nothing, it seems like. Okay, well, I'm just going to make this easier. Display capture. Okay, you guys are just going to be seeing my my display capture now and view into infinity. Is that fun? Why is it still not showing up on the stream? Oh, it's probably because I'm 20 minutes behind. Okay, that would explain it. I'm just being an idiot. Okay, well, this will at the very least flip between them. Okay, so we'll assume Bridget Hoffman then, because she was the last one to voice her in the game. She was also the version from episode 1 is also the one that's in the game, so if there is a lore-based reason, that makes more sense. And we can also assume that she would come back because she also returned for .hack GU last recode. Sue from Soul Calibur. Let's see, where is she? Man, she's a really unpopular character. I had to scroll this far down to find her. Kate Higgins as well. Alright, that's fine. Natsu is an example I see people point out of how well written the Project Crosszone games are. They're like, yeah, Natsu is not a popular character in Soul Calibur. She was just a cheap replacement for Taki. And then when she showed up in Project Crosszone, they were like, holy shit, they actually gave her a personality. I am in on this. This one, I guess I'll look it up. I already know the answer, though. ATE. 2017's a little too far. I don't think we can say this. So at the time, she did not have an English voice, probably because it took until Summer Night 5, I think, for any of the games to get released outside Japan. Got it. And then Valkyrie. Is there some weird thing I don't know about? Maybe. Nope. Okay. Yeah, because she's an old arcade game character, so crossovers are all this poor woman's got nowadays. And again, no alts we can possibly use. Okay, and that finishes us up with Namco. Let's move over to Capcom with Resident Evil. Now, some of these I am a little bit confused on the timeline on some of these. So, who was around at the time? Chris Redfield. Around this time, it would have been, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is still, yeah, because Resident Evil 7 was almost a year away, and the version in Project Cross Zone is definitely the Resident Evil 6, Chris. So Roger Craig Smith would be doing it, yeah. All right, then. Smith, establish. No, I'm not trying to delete anything. Now, are we assuming he'd be available? He's not that big. I think he'd probably still be willing. You gotta be honest here, my knowledge on Roger Craig Smith's voice acting roles is mostly Sonic. And I know that there was that dispute back in 2021, 2, where he was saying, like, yeah, I'm not getting paid enough for this. And he just kept, yeah, he said, like, yeah, Sega doesn't really pay me very well for this. I just keep doing it because I like the character. 2016 would have been, obviously he was still, I would assume if he was willing to keep doing Sonic, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't be willing to keep doing Chris Redfield. I think Capcom just replaced him because they were going in a different game direction. Jill at the time would have been Michelle Ruff. Oh, she's gone between. Okay, Michelle Ruff was the most recent one, so we'll assume her. Wow, yeah, she has gone between a lot. Nicole Tompkins is who they've settled on now, I guess. Teppen was going with someone else, even though Teppen's usually pretty good about keeping the game voices. Yeah, okay. Joey, but she was the one in Mercenaries 3D, Kerry Walgren, and in 5, man. That's actually tricky. Do we go with the more recent voice that was in, like, crossover game? Revelations isn't a crossover game, no. Patricia Jolie was, yeah, her. One. And I like the fact that we just still have absolutely no idea who played her in the original Resident Evil. Wang did a video on that. I haven't actually watched it. Huh. Taylor Platt played her in a Japan. Oh, that is so weird. Why does Kathleen Barr not have a profile picture? Okay. See, this is the only part that confused me. If it was just Michelle Ruff, then we could just say, yeah, okay, they replaced her around this time. Kerry Walgren was sort of their mid-ground one, but they replaced her with around the time of this. But Patricia Jolie came back for Teppen. So is that them saying that, yeah, she is the actual voice? What else has she done? Patricia Jolie, because I've never heard of her. Who's this? She was in Cowboy Bebop. I should know this. Who was that? Oh, Mayfo. That was the girl from Boogie Woogie Feng Shui, right? Okay. Oh, this one's tricky. Okay. think on this one. Yeah, because it seems like they were only using Michelle Ruff for one thing. It was just like Revelations and Operation Raccoon City were probably recorded at the same time. Maybe it was just Patricia Jolie wasn't available at the time. But then why did Kerry Walgren take over for her for Marvel vs. Capcom 3? I guess there was just a period. You know, because they went back to her, I'm going to say that Capcom considers her the proper Jill Valentine voice, at least before Nicole Tompkins replaced her. And that's at least Michelle Ruff's reign was earlier enough that we can't just say like this would fall in line with that era. Okay, so we'll say Patricia Jolie. We establish, assuming California. She's with everyone else, I would think so. And of course, she's another Power Rangers actor that ended up in a Capcom game. How does this keep happening? But we'll put Michelle Ruff in as an alt, just in case. Now, Leon at the time should have still been Matt Mercer. I like the fact that I deliberately type in Leon S. Kennedy, and they're still like really quick. Like, do you mean John F. Kennedy, either the real one, Marvel Universe, okay, or the one from Clone High? Yeah, Nick Apostolidis has been him since. But yeah, at the time it was still Matt Mercer. All right. Okay, so Operation Raccoon City just had kind of a weird cast. Again, yeah, because it was in the transitionary period between Paul Mercier and Matt Mercer, which again, kind of weird that the two Leon voice actors were have last names that are so similar. So, yep. One and again, yep. We'll assume so. Ryu. Yeah, like I just type in Ryu, and their first thought is Ryuji Sakamoto, despite little one name Ryu right there. Yeah. Aside from Puzzle Fighter, because that's got its own weird voice cast, yeah, he's been very consistently Kyle Hebert since Street Fighter 4. Huh? Is Ryu not dubbed in Asura's Wrath? Because I mean, Asura's Wrath had an English dub. I would assume that they would have at least just reused the voice lines from Street Fighter 4. But I didn't play that DLC because I only rented it. Yeah, we just had a lot of kind of weird voice actors earlier. But yeah, once they got Kyle Hebert, they pretty much settled on that. Yep. Sure. Ken. This one I know from researching the Japanese one. He has a full name, but they don't actually bother to give it to him on the site. Okay. Yes, okay. This early on, it was still Ruben Langdon. They hadn't replaced him yet. I knew Ruben Langdon voiced him in 4. I wasn't sure when that happened. I knew he voiced him in 4, and I know he didn't voice him in 6. I wasn't sure when the switch happened. It looks like it was right before 6. Got it. And we can absolutely guarantee that he would return for this game because his baby is also in it, so they already have him on the voice cast. But we'll get to that later. Chun-Li at the time was still Laura Bailey? Yeah. She started in 4, right? Yes, okay. Laura Bailey started in 4 and got replaced starting with Infinite. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. When did that come out? 2017. That was like early in the year. Oh, September. Okay, that's a year and a half away. We can't assume that yet. And then they just... Okay, Ashley Birch. Okay, they settled on Ashley Birch for a little bit, but then they got Laura Bailey back for Power Rangers? Huh. Okay, well, Street Fighter 6 was concurrent with this, so we'll assume Laura Bailey. I think we can assume that she'd be able to return at this point. She's gotten big since then, but I think she was still accessible at this point. Maybe just barely tail end kind of stuff. What was the release schedule for Street Fighter V? Released in 2016. Okay, so it started like... Okay, Street Fighter V released almost the exact same time as Project Cross Sun 2. So yeah, okay. It wasn't just like this game released a while earlier and they were just continuing to use her voice legacy for a while. No, okay, that was definitely the same time. All right, then. We'll assume Laura Bailey should be good then. And then, of course, my girl Ingrid, unfortunately, has never been voiced in English. Very sad. The problem is the fact that she's not in enough games. When the hell is she coming back? Capcom, when are you bringing Ingrid back? God damn it. And I don't really mean that as a joke. If Ingrid gets revealed as a DLC character for Street Fighter 6, first of all, I'm going to drink in the tears of all of the people who hate her. And then I'll play the game because I love Ingrid. At one point I was tossing around the idea of like I should start a collection of all the games Ingrid is in. As you can see, it's a very small collection. The problem is the fact that the only version of Alpha 3 she's in is the PSP version. And I bought Guilty Gear Judgment recently on the PSP. That PSP is not a good controller for fighting games. Try to play Guilty Gear on that was a nightmare. I don't want to have to buy Alpha 3 and try and play that on PSP. Now, Capcom Fighting Evolution. Absolutely, I'll buy that. That's dumb enough for me to enjoy. Okay, next we are on Darkstalkers. This is definitely kind of weirder stuff because they haven't made these games in a while. What is... Okay. Yeah, so you kind of have to go back into English. Like, I'm curious of any of the Darkstalker characters I have. Am I going to have to go back to the TV show? Well, no, that was recorded in Canada, so either way it's not going to work. Richard Epcar was... Now, what is Cross Edge? I happened to hear about this game earlier this week. What is this game? RPG developed by Go Gust? What the hell? If we show Lilith Jedi. Man, this game got dubbed? Weird. First of all, how did they get Capcom characters in this game? Second, how did it get released internationally? And 3, how did it manage to get a dub? That is weird. Okay, Richard Epcar. He would be established. Now, I'm not sure if... What's his filmography? What's he been doing? Still in JoJo. He's still doing anime dubs around the time, so it's not impossible. Video games probably would be the better place to look. Around this time, Injustice, Fire Emblem, that doesn't count. Kingdom Hearts is... Oh, he was in Street Fighter, okay. That tells me enough. If he's in Street Fighter around the time, he's accessible. Okay. Imagine if this English dub came to be, and you just hear Dimitri voiced by Richard Epcar, and you just have to think, oh yeah, he technically is an established voice actor, technically reprising the role. Yeah, he's in Guilty Gear, of course. I'm just curious, do you think Akuma was leaked as a DLC character for Street Fighter 6? Do you think it's still going to be Richard Epcar? Because this game's kind of half and half on old voice actors or new ones. Now, Morrigan has appeared a lot more than Dimitri has. We have got a couple more choices to work with here. Flynn. Now, I don't know who the hell you are. Evan Fitzgerald played her in Cross Edge, huh? Saffron Henderson. That name sounds familiar. Why do I know you? Oh, yeah. She was Gohan in Canadian dub of Dragon Ball Z. And for some reason is one of the people that gets killed in Jason Takes Manhattan. It's kind of weird. Okay, but MVC3, starting with that, they've settled on Siobhan Flynn, who I do not know, but they stuck with her around Teppen, so yeah, she is the one they'd be going with. I'm going to have a hard time spelling that one. Gotta check and make sure I did it correctly. Siobhan Flynn. Okay. Established. Now, who is this? Has she done anything else I would know? Okay, it's apparently a common Irish name. Alright then. Which just makes me not knowing it even sadder. She does not have a Wikipedia page. And what do you have on her? She was in Hellsing, played a different role in Hellsing Ultimate for some reason. And for the most part, it's just Morrigan. Alright. Yeah, because I think the Marvel's Capcom games gave Morrigan like an Irish accent. Which, I mean, yeah, represent. That's nice. But yeah, if she was still in Teppen, she's accessible. Okay, GK Bowes was the more recent one. Because I saw, I didn't even remember that she was in MVC3. Because I happened to watch a video earlier this week on roles that Melissa Fawn has played in video games, and I saw Felicia pop up in Cross Edge. That's how I heard about the game in the first place. And I guess since I didn't remember that she was in MVC3, I was like, oh, that's going to be... I was like, well, I guess I know how I'm going to put her on here. But GK Bowes played her in MVC3. Okay. She hasn't done it since then, but I guess there's no reason to assume she wouldn't. What else has she done? Yeah. She's Kial and Gurren Lagann. Of course, that's the first thing my eye catches. It's like, oh, I know that. Random Diamond Dog Soldier in MGS 5. Oh, she was Laura in Street Fighter 5. Asuka Kazama in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I don't know who that is. Okay, well. Okay, well, she was around in Street Fighter 5, then yeah, she's accessible. Alright. Now, do I actually have to look up Dante? I feel like we all know this one. Of course, that's ever since Devil May Cry 3, that has been, except for Beautiful Joe Red Hot Rumble, because that's sort of in a weird place. Okay. It's because that was just a reused voice anyway. Yeah, ever since Devil May Cry 3, it has been Ruben Langdon. And I've always just kind of presumed that he would rather die than give it up. I'm very curious who's going to voice him in the Netflix show. Because Dante has such an established and loved voice at this point that I feel like people would be upset hearing someone. You know, it's not like Castlevania, where it's like, yeah, I mean, Trevor Belmont had a voice, but people aren't going to be losing sleep over not hearing whoever voiced him in Curse of Darkness and Judgment. But Ruben Langdon really did make Dante his own, so I feel like it'd be kind of difficult for him to be accepted, a new actor to be accepted. Similarly, yeah, ever since, I mean, yeah, I guess ever since Devil May Cry 3, Dan Southworth, that's kind of a weird thing to say, because that's pretty much where he was introduced. Yep. And we will, again, I assume if they can get one, they can get the other. Here we go. You know, this just kind of makes life more difficult because I had to look at this in the Japanese one. If you type in Mega Man X, you have a very hard time getting who you're looking for. Fucking Xiaomu managed to show up first. But, and I thought, like, oh, well, okay, his name is X. I just type in X and it would give me that. It's like, oh, no, the name you're typing in has to be 4 or more letters. Or 3 or more. So, honestly, the easiest way I have to find him is I have to go click on Maverick Hunter X and then click on the character from here. All 15 incarnations. Okay. Yeah, see, this is where it gets difficult. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was too far away for us to be able to use its voices, but the last time X had appeared in English was in 2006 with Mark Gatha, who was definitely... So we kind of, again, considering that the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite voice for X, Ted Soroka, they also stuck with for Teppen, and considering he's just Dan in Street Fighter, it's very possible that if you put a gun to Capcom's head a year earlier, they would have picked him as well. But like I said, we can't assume that, so we kind of just have to say, yep, it was Mark Gatha. He's the one they'd be getting established. He was in... He's definitely not available. When did he retire? Mark Gatha. He retired in 2006. Okay, he... Maverick Hunter X was basically the last thing he did. Okay. Yeah, and then he retired and became an orthopedic surgeon and is working in Vancouver. Good for him. And we don't have an alt either. You know, actually, never mind. Yes, we do. There was an earlier English voice we can use based in America. I'm sorry, we're not getting Peter Van Gogh back. Phil Hayes, all right. That would be hilarious if they got back the Ruby Spears Mega Man version. I'm putting him on the list. He counts. He would also be inaccessible because even if he's still working, he's in Canada, so it wouldn't actually work. But I'm putting him on the list. It counts. And thankfully, Zero had a slightly more active life than X did, and thanks to Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they had established Johnny Young Bosch as his English voice, and seeing as he appeared in Smash Ultimate and Teppen, despite the fact that he's popular, we can assume that he would still be around. Sure. Strider Hiryu. He's been in crossover games, so I assume he's got an English voice at this point. Okay. Okay, why does he have 2 voices in Strider 2014? But, either way, okay. Despite the fact that he was in 2014, that seems to specifically be for this reboot version of Hiryu, and primary universe, whatever, has stuck with TJ Storm, so he would be the choice. Storm, yes, California, and if they got him for Infinite, then sure, he's available. Captain Commando has not been in much. I would not be surprised if he does not have an English voice, period. Yep, alrighty then. Nobody again. Junwin Milliam. Star Gladiator is not a very popular series. Yep, again. Absolutely no. It's kind of weird that they had Megumi Ogata and then immediately replaced her for Plasma Sword. Nope, no English voices. Phoenix Wright. And like I was saying at the time, Sam Riegel is very established as Game Phoenix by this point. Obviously, as I mentioned in the video, we had some weird things like Professor Layton, Puzzle Fighter, and the anime, but when it comes to the main games, yeah, they stuck with Sam Riegel. See, Teppen's actually really nice, because it came out a couple years later. It uses established actors, and it gives us a nice bit of proof that, yeah, Capcom still has these people's numbers, and they're still willing to come back for it. That makes life a lot easier. Instead of having to guess, do we think that they're still available? Let's see, at this point, it was Abby Trott, eh? Yeah, okay. She has not reappeared. Who is she? Yes. Let's see. Oh, huh. She was born nearby my house. She was born fairly close to me, Attleboro. That's not that far. Oh, she's Nezuko in Demon Slayer. Yeah, she also played. She also sang Lifelight in Smash Ultimate. All right, that's interesting. Yeah, this was still actually very early in her career, apparently. Yeah, she started with Kim Woo in Killer Instinct. Oops, Ned. Okay, then yeah, if it was this early in her career, yeah, she definitely wouldn't have taken off yet. All right, sure, she's fine. All right, and that finishes up with Capcom. Now we're moving on over to Sega. Now Shinobi is one of those ones that would be like, there couldn't be an English dub for these characters, but the PS2 game probably did. I don't know. I never played it. Yes, it did. Alrighty then. That was Jordan Rosa. All right. Now, I don't know who that is. Rosa does not have a Wikipedia page. Has done absolutely nothing else. I'm surprised he ranks at all. Probably only because I actually bothered to look at his page. So that, of course, also tells us I have absolutely... maybe his IMDb page could have a little bit more information. Is this the right one? Yep, okay. Okay, he has... Okay, he's in California and he's working on other stuff. All right, then. Production coordinators on a couple TV shows. All right, then. That is weird. Yeah, he voiced a character in Shinobi on the PS2 in 2002, and then 11 years later, he started working as a production coordinator on TV shows. Weird. Okay, he's been in a couple things. Oh, he's in Jet Set Radio Future. Okay, he did an acting role in 2016. See, this is one of those difficult things. Is you would think like, yeah, he moved on from this role a long time ago. He's not working anywhere close to this industry anymore. They wouldn't be able to get him back. Sometimes you'll find that. Sometimes you will find actors that basically stopped acting, but if you call them back to reprise their role, they'll do it. The guy who plays, not, I cannot remember his name. One of the Organization 13 members. Demix. That's it. His actor, like he was working with Disney around 2005 and 6, which is how he ended up in Kingdom Hearts 2. And then he basically stopped acting after that. But anytime they're making a Kingdom Hearts game, he's there. I can't say for certain. I gotta put a question mark on that one. It's possible, but we don't know for certain. This point, Karen Swenson is probably even less likely because she doesn't even have a picture. Established. You know that. Who are you? You also don't have anything else. They got a great voice cast for these games, huh? I hear they're fun hack and slash games. I never played them because I also hear they're really hard, and I can't say I was a huge fan of. Okay, there's a couple. Okay, it's this one. Worked on a book? Celebrity biographer. How did she end up in Nightshade? Okay, well, I can't say anything about where she lives, but I think it's safe to say that she would not be returning. She is actually doing stuff with her life. Now I'm just curious, how did she end up in Shinobi? How does stuff like this happen? The next was Kira. Does he has an English voice, right? No? Wasn't he in Dead or Alive? Recycled. But doesn't he speak in English in Dead or Alive? Because I was watching a video earlier this. Maybe Jackie is like. Alright, hang on. I gotta look this up. Maybe it's because like Jackie Bryant is an American character. Yeah. Alright then. Yep. Always been Eric Kelso. Okay then. Because I was watching the compilation of Jackie earlier this week, and he was definitely speaking in English, so I was confused. Okay. Akira does not have one. Gotcha. No, wait a minute. Hold on. Go back. There was a Virtua Fighter anime. Hold on. Where is it? Why is it not on here? Man, they don't even have it on here. Okay, hold on. I gotta go to IMDb. Yeah, the anime. Here we go. It's got an English cast. Yep, here it is. Who played Akira in the English version of the show? Tony Schnur. It counts. It is the only voice that he's had. He's done voice acting since then. He's done acting since then. Oh. Schnur. Is there a C in there? Yes, there is. Okay. He'd be there. I don't know where he lives. Born in Ohio. Oh wow, he died earlier this year. That's a shame. Yeah, I can't say anything on where he lives. He's doing acting. It's not impossible that they'd be able to get him. But yeah, his days of doing dub stuff were long over. He was doing that in like in the 90s and early 2000s. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say they would not be able to get him back. Damn shame. Now, I'm assuming none of the other Virtua Fighter characters would also don't have any English dubs. So we gotta go to the anime for all of them. Yep, okay. I'm a Jeff Whitesell. Has not done anything since the 90s. Okay, that tells me that he would not be available. Yeah, can't type. Whitesell. Okay. He's established. Would definitely not be available, and we have no alts. Again, just assuming PyChan is the same way. Yep, okay. Who voiced her in the anime? Amy Tipton. She at least has a picture. That helps. She was in The Conjuring, huh? Okay, she's moved on to being a live action actor. Alright. Oh, and art coordinator, huh? But I mean... Yeah, okay. Looks like Red Dead Redemption 2 was a sort of a fluke. Yeah, has not done any voice acting roles since the 90s. Okay, then. And yes. And no, not available. Sakura Wars. Now, this is the stuff I know. It's funny, despite the fact that Sakura Wars releases a lot less in English than Virtua Fighter does, it actually has a lot more English voice actors. Yep, it is. No, that's a École de Paris. Okay. Well, yeah, see, Dave Wittenberg was cast with them starting with Sakura Wars the movie, but thankfully, he reprised his role in the 5th video game, so he definitely counts. Yes. No. California, and then I haven't heard him in stuff recently. What's he doing? Also narrates documentaries and specials for the Travel Channel and Food Network. Really? Dude, that's weird. Voiced Sora in Dot Hack Sign, who is, if I'm not mistaken, would end up being Haseo, who was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal in the games, while Dave Wittenberg played Gaspard. Focus Lang Wrangler. Okay, well, he still does voice. What's he doing on video games? Around this time. He was in Mighty Number 9, so he couldn't be too expensive. Alright then, he was Dr. Sanda. And why do none of these ones go on the... Were people just lazy and didn't feel like putting it on the table? Like, we know what year these games came out. We could easily put them in here. Okay, yeah, I'll assume that he's still around. Yeah, oh yeah, and they got him back for last recode. So yes, he would definitely still be available. Erica is the one odd one out when it comes to the Sakura Wars actors, because she was, her games never left Japan. Her games never got a full anime adaptation. She was not in the movie. So a lot of the stuff that she was in did not get voiced in English. However, one thing did. So yeah, Caitlin Glass is the only Sakura Wars, is the only Erica actor in English. Is that with an I or a Y? Caitlin Glass, okay. Yep. Now, where was she living at the time? I feel like she's moved to California by this point, but she was definitely in Texas, because she worked with Funimation. In Glass. There we go. Right, While still a college student, Glass went on a Funimation studio tour and was hired the same day by Eric Vale. Huh. Lives in Dallas. Okay, so she has worked as an ESL teacher in Spain? When did she have time to do that? Yeah, okay. I thought she moved over too. I thought she moved to California at some point, but okay, well, that's interesting. She's in Street Fighter, so yeah, and she's still in Street Fighter. She's still Cammy. Okay, then despite the fact that she presumably still lives in Texas, I guess she's available for this kind of stuff. All right. I was about set to write her off because of location, but if she's still working with Capcom, then sure. Sakura. Yep. And Wendy Lee, same thing with Dave Wittenberg. She started in the movie, reprised her role in So Long My Love, so she is both the most recent English Sakura voice and was the one in a game. Wendy Lee, yes. California, and available. I mean, I don't see a reason why she wouldn't be. And let's see, video games. What was she doing? She plays Trish in Devil May Cry 5? I didn't know that. Still in Last Recode. That's really the big one. Because Bandai Namco is the publisher of Project Cross Zone. If they were able to get her for .hack, that definitely tells me that she'd be available. Okay. And she's also Athena in Ace Attorney. That's right, yeah. Okay, then she's available. Well, she's doing surprisingly well here. And then Gemini debuted in the game that released outside Japan, which has always made a lot of sense to me, being the only Sakura Wars game with a dub, because it's the one that takes place in America. It was good old Laura Bailey. Simple enough. We already have her on the list, so that's all good. Now, Yakuza, again, this is very much a series that is known for its Japanese dub. And they've been making changes to it recently. Like Young Yi's voicing him in a couple upcoming games. And apparently someone else played him in Like a Dragon. But let's not forget, good old Yakuza. Oh, really? Huh. They got back the guy from the original Yakuza to reprise his role in 7. That's interesting. Before replacing. Cool. That at least tells me he'd be available, probably. Daryl Kurilo. I've definitely never heard of him. What else has he done? I think Project Cross Zone 2 slightly predates his like Yakuza becoming really popular outside Japan. And it would be hilarious if it was just Kurilo. Here we are. Born in 65. Okay, I thought it said born in 1995. I was like, that's the year I was born. That can't be right. Around this time, he was Transformers Devastation. That's a little bit bigger. So that's the problem. He was still doing voice acting for video games, but they were generally higher tier ones. I'm not so sure. Yeah, because generally you can tell looking at video game voice acting lists. You have the ones done by more Western games developed in America generally tend to have a more Western focused voice cast, while Japanese games tend to have a very similar voice cast to the kind you would hear in anime. So yeah, he's in a lot of these kinds of games. Yeah, I think Yakuza just kind of had a weird dubbing situation. I'm gonna say no, they wouldn't get him for this. That's gonna be my guess. And then Majima. Now this is the famous one, of course. In the first Yakuza game, they somehow managed to get Mark Hamill. Well, I love Mark Hamill as a voice actor. Yes. Well, yeah, there is no chance in hell that they would get him for Project Cross Zone 2. I can guarantee you that as amazing as it would be to hear him, zero chance. And that's what tips me off that for some reason Yakuza 1 had a fairly different casting process, because Mark Hamill was one of the actors they got, and he certainly does a lot of voice acting, but he's definitely not in this circle. The only times he tends to do anime stuff is when it's a very big production, like some Studio Ghibli stuff. So who's next on my Zephyr? That was it from Tales of Resonance. Did that game have an English dub? I rented it once. Did Scott Menville? All right. Yep. Established. California. Now, would he be available? Because he showed up. In terms of Namco stuff, this would have been way after he was replaced for on Tales of Symphonia Dawn of the New World. But I think they got him back for Tales of Symphonia Chronicles. So Let's see here. He was in the Mario movie. And of course, a lot of Teen Titan stuff, obviously. Gravity Falls. Nate and Flavor Pup number 2. Nate was, yeah, that was one of Wendy's friends. Okay. Let's see. What was he doing around this time? Not too much, yeah. He was generally outside of this sphere around the time. I'm just curious. Did they get him back for Tales of Symphonia Chronicles? That was around 2013, 2014. It's not listed on here, but that had new voice. Maybe it didn't. I feel like the only new voice acting things in Dawn of the New World, in Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, were like those new Mystic Arts calls, which always felt weird to me. Like, why did they got back the original actors to bring them into a booth, record one line, and then leave? I feel like it's a lot more likely that they recorded those original, because those Mystic Arts that were added for the PS2 version are in the data of the GameCube version. So I think it's likely that they were planning to put them in on the GameCube. They had the voice actors record the lines. They ended up cutting them, put them back in on the PS2, and then when they brought the PS2 version over for Chronicles, they just dug out that old audio. So no, I'm going to say Scott Menville would not be around for this. Vashron. Nolan North, okay. Much like Troy Baker, we can safely say no. He definitely became much bigger following Resonance of Fate. By the time we got to here, he was, I mean, even by Resonance of Fate, he was already a couple of years into Uncharted and his best role, Prince of Persia 2008. But yeah, he is definitely not in. He's definitely outside Project Cross Zone 2's price range by this point. This game it was Jessica DeChico. Yes, California. Now she's a lot more likely because I know at the very least she definitely still does some video game stuff. I know that she was Delilah in Guilty Gear Strive. What else has she done? She did a lot of stuff in the Mario movie. Really? Mayor Pauline, Mario and Luigi's mom, Baby Peach, really? Plumbing commercial woman, which, I didn't see the Mario movie. When they say plumbing commercial woman, are they referring to like the one that was also in the ad? Because that one was Peach's original actor. Shigeru Kamado and Hand. Okay, so she's also in Demon Slayer and Delilah and Guilty Gear. Nah, it seems like most of her video game stuff is reprising roles from cartoon series. Delilah was kind of a weird outlier. Shigeru Kamado. Yeah, because she's not in too much anime. Demon Slayer, assuming she appears later, it's entirely possible that they just had a bunch of money to work with on hiring her. Oh, she was in Cargo. Hell yeah. Cargo is the movie that at least part of the reason I say that Cars is never going to be in Kingdom Hearts, because Cargo is a horrible Cars ripoff that got Haley Joel Osment to play the main character. So I think that if there was a Cars world in Kingdom Hearts, they would turn Sora, Donald, and Goofy into cars, or at least Sora would be a car and Donald and Goofy would be some other vehicles, and that would just bring back too many memories. Yeah, okay, and I know that she was also... Yep, Gravity. Oh, she's also Tambry. I knew she was Giffany in Gravity Falls. Okay. I don't quite understand how she ended up in Guilty Gear, but I'm gonna say it's a bit outside her range. Axel Stone, like I said, he's the only true actor we can say was not. They had to cast for the Japanese one. For some reason, he has 2 pages on here. He has actors for Streets of Rage 4, for some reason 2 of them. But that was a couple years away. Yeah, he's got no one. When we consider 2016, nobody. Segata Sanshiro, obviously, nobody. And honestly, I feel like it would make more sense if he just wasn't dubbed. He was the one character in the game that still spoke in English, in Japanese. I mean, like everyone else is dubbed. He just speaks Japanese, and everyone's okay with it. That 100% fits Segata's vibe in this game. That he is just this extra-dimensional being that everyone knows for some reason. But I'll look him up anyway. Is there some weird thing I don't know about? No. If somebody's need is a single, I guess because his only voice acting role is in Project Cross Zone. And that Saturn game, I feel like should be added. Ooh, wow. Okay then. Yeah, see, then you have stuff like this. Apollo Smile was Ulala's voice actor for a while. And even coming up to All Stars Racing Transformed, they were using her, although recycled. I mean, some of these are recycled audio, but yeah, the first Sonic All Stars Racing was recycled. Transformed wasn't. It's tricky because they hadn't replaced her yet. Apollo Smile, she's the only one that we can throw on the list at this point. No doubt about that. I don't know where she's based. Does she have a Wikipedia page? She's a singer. Okay. Huh. Okay, she actually has done a couple weird voice acting roles. She was in the Battle Arena Toshinden OVA. Weird. Megas XLR. Yeah, but she's primarily a singer. I'm going to say by this point, yeah. He was active 2004. I mean, it says she's still doing music as of 2019. Okay, I'm going to say. Okay, well, apparently currently in Alabama, and I don't know when she moved there, but it's plenty possible it was in this interim period between, say, 2012 at the latest. It's entirely possible it could be even earlier. Who knows when she actually recorded new voice samples for Ooh La La. So yeah, and it's definitely too early for Cherami Lee to be replacing her. So we'll say that, and then finally for the Sega side, we've got Rio. Now this one. See, this is the kind of thing, like Corey Marshall. I did look into this. He's pretty much not done anything else besides voicing Shenmue. Mr. Shenmue. Let's see. Has he done anything else? What does he do with his life? There's Henry the Corgi Field Marshal in Korg of the Dead. Whatever this. What is this? Okay, it's a game he was a writer for. Huh. Okay, yeah, he does stuff every once in a while. Apparently a lot of bad stuff. Boogie Pop, apparently. Yeah, ordinarily this would be the kind of actor that I was a stuntman, alright. Ordinarily this would be the kind of actor that I would just say, like, yeah, he probably wouldn't, like, yeah, they probably wouldn't be able to get him back. If not for the fact that they did get him back for Shenmue 3. I'm actually very upset they didn't get him back for the Shenmue anime. I think that would have been hilarious. Marshall. Yes. Where does he live? Going to IMDb. Actor born in Texas. Degree in upstate New York. To move to Los Angeles. Okay. then I assume he still lives there. And because he was in Shenmue 3, I assume that they would still be able to get him. And then finally, the couple of Nintendo characters that show up. There's only 3 that are playable. Crom is, of course, always Matt Mercer. Good for him. So, yep. California, yep. Yeah, now Lucina. I did look into this one a little bit while I was doing the Japanese research. Lucina, yeah, see, here's the thing. Project Cross Zone happens Project Cross Zone 2 comes out basically around the time they switched from Gore Bailey to Alexis Tipton. So the question then becomes, who is it? Fates. When did Fates come out in the US? And Fire Emblem fans, Fates came out US basically the exact same time. So that's the question then. In Fates, did she have new voice acting? Or was it always... They don't have their cycled icon, but she's also not verified, so it's possible they just haven't done the research on that yet. That's going to be the deciding factor. If it wasn't new voice acting in Fates, then I would assume that Laura Bailey would have already moved on. Well, okay. She was in Heroes, which I'm assuming means that... But again, that could also be recycled audio. I'm not a big Fire Emblem guy. The only reason I'm going to say Laura Bailey is because they hadn't officially replaced her yet, as near as I can tell. So we can't say that Alexis Tipton would be a possibility. And I'm only going to say that Laura Bailey would be available because Chun-Li in Street Fighter. She was already doing stuff for Street Fighter. They would, if we assume that they're able to get her for that, then we can say, yep, they'd already have her in the studio. It'd be very easy at that point to just say, hey, we've already got you. Can you also read for Lucina? And then say, hey, we've already got you. Can we get you to read for Gemini Sunrise? And then you have to remind her who that character is and what accent she was doing. And finally, we've got Fiora from Xenoblade. Is Karina Reeves. Alrighty then. Reeves established. Now I'm assuming that she lives in the UK, like all of Xenoblade. And she does not have a Wikipedia page. Karina Reeves, here we go. She does not have anything but the fact that she was, she's in Xenoblade. And, Xenoblade, Dark Souls, Final Fantasy 14, Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. That definitely tells me she lives in the UK, which also tells us they would sadly not be able to get her. Alrighty then, so that's every character settled. Now I just need to, let me do some highlighting real quick. Fill these red. I'll start with all the no's. It's less than I thought there would be. Obviously a lot more than the Japanese side. What color am I using for this? On formatting. Let me do that so I can at least have it be consistent. There we go. Good. Paste formatting. Oh, it also gave us that. Hang on. The problem is the fact that I can't do that. That sucks. I gotta keep cloning formatting. And then what's the line tool? I'm not so used to using LibreOffice for this. Well, I mean, I can. Give me a sec. I'm gonna do this. All right. don't care if this isn't interesting to watch. I'm getting this to look good, alright? And then for the one that's against the line, I can thankfully use this one. There we go. Alright, and then all the yeses we do. Thankfully they're together, so I can do this. Okay then, and then I have to do this. Color coding, it helps out a lot in being just basic readability. Then I gotta get a yellow one for that. Okay, there we go. So now what we have at this point, I wasn't taking notes on all this. Oh well, it's fine. Let me zoom out just so I can make it a little bit more visible for myself. Okay then. So honestly, there is a decent amount of green on here. It does give us a decent amount to work with, and at the very least for some of the replacements we have, for some of the people that we can't get, we have replacements for some of them, at least. Though sadly none of them are ones that we have otherwise on the list. Definitely a lot more actors that we have to cast for the first time. But honestly, it's not too many. One of them we established we're not going to bother changing from Japanese. Axel, you could very much, as being the other character that they had to cast for the Japanese version, they could very easily just do the same joke and say, okay, we're just going to give him Crom's voice so we don't have to rewrite the joke where Lucina doesn't know who she should be listening to. All of you guys are the problem. Yakuza and Resonance of Fate actors. And then Shinobi and Virtua Fighter. Sega, you're really the problem here. Namco's generally pretty good. Capcom's probably got the best, though. Ingrid, yeah. Because like I said, X, if you put a gun to their head, they probably could have cast Ted Soroka earlier. And Captain Commando, Junlin Milliam, Ingrid, they could easily just find actors for. It's no big deal. Everyone else they've got. And I think that's just because Capcom has generally better use of their IPs thanks to Marvel vs. Capcom. Those are the big ones. They have reason to keep giving them English actors. Oh, and then there was this. Let me put a fill on this one. There we go. So now comes, unfortunately, the most time-consuming part. I make the list of all the actors and we figure out how many parts they're in. Yeah, if they have an alt, then we'll just assume that the alt is going to be doing it. Except for probably Phil Hay. Okay, we'll just do it with Patrick Seitz. Everyone else, Patricia Jolie, we can assume we can get her. Phil Hayes is probably even less likely than Mark Gatha. What has he done? I don't think I ever looked him up. What has Phil Hayes done besides Mega Man X? Again, he's also Canadian, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious. Don't think it's the boss. Oh, for God's sake, there's a bunch of Phil Hayes. Okay, hold on. Then we'll go the other way around. Ruby Spears Mega Man. For some reason, it's the first result when you type in Mega Man. He's not even listed on IMDb. That's got to be sad. Right? Oh, never mind. It's Philip Maurice Hayes. So additional voices, despite the fact that he played Mega Man X in an episode. He's doing well for himself as an actor. He's doing plenty of stuff. Dead Rising 2. What else? You know, it'd be hilarious if he'd somehow managed to end up in a Mega Man game. Nah, okay, nothing else I'm aware of. Oh, Sonic. Bartleby. Yeah, Bartleby from Sonic Underground. Okay. I'm aware of who that is. I watched one season of Sonic Underground. Scratch and Sonic Christmas Blast, not from actual Set AM, not Set AM, AOSTH. Oh, was he? Was he actually? He was actually scratching AOSTH. Never mind then. I was under the impression that Sonic Christmas Blast only got Julia White. Okay. So Patrick Seitz. He's unfortunately a little bit awkward because he's in one, but I know for a fact we only listed him once, so we'll just stick with that. Okay. I just need to give that just so I know I've already put them down on the list. Price. Oh, hold on. Yes, okay, that was correct. Let me just get the formula. Throw a couple absolute things in there. There we go. Okay, good. So you do this just so you know how many times they pop up. Savage. Here's once on the list. Okay. It is kind of weird. You have this massive collection of well-known anime video game English voice actors. Yuri Lowenthal only shows up on here once. Okay, Troy Baker, we'll skip because we know we're not getting him. Sam Michael's on here twice. Yep. And down there. Once, right? I think I typed that in wrong. Christina V. Wow, Christina V has a whole Wikipedia page for her filmography. That's impressive. Valenzuela, yeah, okay. Want to be sure I have her name represented correctly. I'm sure she's watching this video right now. And her Wikipedia page just calls her Christina V. What I was saying earlier is totally correct. Sandra Lee Morris. I also recall only being there once. Good. So far, we haven't had an actor appear more often than any of the Japanese actors. Still a max of 2. And, yeah. Just the once, okay. Smith. Also only twice. Though we also can't toss out the possibility that we'd be hypothetically casting Matt Mercer as Yuri Lowell. And Langdon is... Oh, that's his name off. Yeah, Laura Bailey was on there 3 times if I remember correctly. So, yep, she currently holds the record for voice actor that is in the most roles here. Congrats to her. For some reason, I spelled out Dan Southworth's name all the way, but I left Matt Mercer just as Matt. Storm. There's only once, if I recall. Still a lot of ones, honestly. That's kind of impressive, because a lot of people talk about how the English voice acting scene is just the same couple of actors over and over. And sure, certainly we have a Jordan Rosie, I will throw on here because it's a possibility. It's not impossible. There we go. That's all easier. And now we gotta start skipping a lot. Skipping past pretty much all the Sega stuff from now on. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So that's how many actors do we have so far? How do I format it over here? There. Total emotionals. Got it. Okay. hold it. Count. I think it's supposed to be count A. Yeah, count A. Values. There we go. Okay, 30 voice actors total, so it's a lot less than the 52. And then, of course, most roles. Goes quite easily to Kate. Oh no, these weren't centered. Okay. That one was. Okay. Hang on a second here. Keep track of what I'm doing here. Okay. That's centered. Just put the number there. Okay. And
Sorry to bug you again. I got another email from the woman down in Costa Rica looking for a passport number and accident.
okay then, so there we go. So Kate Higgins takes the role for the most in.
They're crazed, you know?
No. Okay.
I had a fear of you.
Yeah, so it is less voice actors, but not really any more of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, less of them. A lot. Only 5 of them have more than one role, as opposed to 6 on the Japanese side. So that's interesting. Then what I would say is, now of course the one issue we have here is we could very easily change that double casting around when we have to consider how many voice actors are we going to be giving completely new actors. Because at that point, again, we look at the Japanese version and we assume, hey, they only had to bother casting one person and they just double cast someone they already had with Tomokazu Sugita on Axel. We can assume that, at least with a lot of these, it's not impossible that they would double cast actors they already have in order to fill these roles, in which case the question then becomes, who on the cast do we already have, do we think would make sense? I'm definitely tempted to give Yuri Lowenthal another role, because I love him, but who would it make sense for him to take over for?
I'll send my message. I had done a little more research and I did see that. Because first I was thinking
Maybe like Zephyr. I would say Zephyr. If Yuri Lowenthal was going to take another role, Zephyr would make the most sense to me. Either him or Vashron, if I had to say something.
but just let me know. I'll get it paid.
Reiji's feeling more like a Matt Mercer kind of role. Though again, we also have to assume, let's just say Matt Mercer is going to be replacing Troy Baker on Yuri Lowell. I'm actually kind of surprised Matt Mercer can do a good Troy Baker impression. When I was looking some stuff up, I was checking. Like, I thought Troy Baker came back for like Blaze Blue Cross Tag, and no, that was Matt Mercer. So that's surprising. See, Adi would be a good choice for Michelle Ruff, but we're assuming that we didn't get Michelle Ruff in. Valkyrie wouldn't be bad for Christina V. Let me start writing some of these down. Michelle Ruff. Zuela. If I'm just making a choice, then let's say Matt Mercer here. Who's the other one I was saying? Matt Mercer would be good for the Axel Stone, definitely. So, Segata is definitely sticking around as he is. Kerry Savage actually wouldn't be too bad for Zhao Mu. I had to say, maybe Bridget Hoffman could also do it. I don't know what kind of voice she uses for Cosmos, but maybe something like she did for Adelie could be decent for Zhao Mu. Oh, you know what? Actually, her Nia voice would actually be great for Ingrid. Actually, I'm putting her down for that. Hoffman. Chunwood Milliam, that might not be bad for Eden Regal. Yeah, because I'm thinking something like her May voice, maybe? Hmm. We thinking that? Yeah, I might as well put it down. Again, all this we're just assuming that we're just going to keep the actors we already have. Or Michelle Ruff in this case. Maybe we should change her, because if we're assuming we're not keeping her, just put Patricia Jolie in there. Wendy Lee could probably be okay for Audie. All these virtual fighter ones are a huge problem. Hibana, God, the Sega ones I'm not looking forward to. I was gonna say Zephyr was Yuri Lowenthal. Definitely fits his kind of role. Maybe Johnny Young Bosch is Reiji, maybe? Of course, we could also just cast Johnny Young Bosch in as Captain Commando to keep, again, the same voice from the Japanese, where him and Zero have the same voice. And X is like, geez, get a room, guys. Can X, I feel weird about choosing someone else to pick him, because, again, I feel like if Capcom was told, hey, you need to come up with an English voice for X, they probably would just pick Ted Sroka. Because honestly, his performance in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite does just feel like they picked his name out of a hat. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, as well. Yeah, I'm not sure I have any more ideas for this. I came up with a couple, which at the very least pushed Matt Mercer up to 4 roles that I gave him. So yeah, that's basically that's basically what we've got here. Basically the final so the I probably should not call it that. The final conclusion that we draw here is that obviously, since these are characters originating in Japanese games, a lot less of the Japanese cast they have to come up with out of a hat. But if we just look in on the final thing, like here's the list of actors in Japan, here's the list of actors in English. Honestly, they're equally diverse. And it's certainly possible to assume that any of the roles they have to fill, they could very easily do it with other actors and not double cast all the time. And doing that, you would definitely have I think you would have a very good dub here. And in case you're wondering why I didn't do this for Project Cross Zone 1 instead, it's because Project Cross Zone 1's cast is weird. It's got a lot of weird choices of characters that have, like, never been in games outside of Japan. So, you can't really... We would have a lot hard... There's probably a lot more characters on the Japanese side that were never voiced before that game. I'm not entirely sure. But we would definitely have a lot more red on the English side if that was the one. So 2 has a much more standard character cast. It just made for a more interesting experiment finding it out. Unfortunately, we didn't because there is a decent selection of actors. We didn't come up with a big. We didn't come up with a bunch of fun connections, but it was an interesting little experiment, I would say. And I think I will stop here. Here's what we've got. Do you guys think that would having this dub have improved your opinion on this game anymore, or is Project Crosstown 2 already perfect? Because it has a scene where Virgil says he doesn't trust Segata Sanshiro. This is the greatest game of all time, is all I'm saying, alright? I'm hoping Project Crosstown comes to the Switch. Let's all hope, guys.